Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin. As always, during this midweek video, I am joined by Mr. Chip Chirimbes of the aplay.com or chipwins.com, whatever you prefer. Either way, you're going to win, no matter what address you type in there, Chipper. A lot of interesting stuff has happened since we talked last.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how's everything going?
Well, I stubbed my toe on Sunday with that darn New England Patriot game, which we never should have gotten beaten. But otherwise, it was pretty profitable. We had a Thursday winner, Sunday night winner, a Monday night winner. That brings our standalone games at 11-4 for the year. So I'm quite proud of that. Those are the Monday night, Sunday nights, and Thursday night NFL games. But it's a challenging business because things happen. I know the bookmakers were crying. My friend Tony Miller from the Golden Nugget, he sent me a text and he said he's going to hide in the closet with a bottle of bourbon. So, I know the players had their way and had a lot of big parlay card winners on Sunday.
Yeah, man, I tell you, when the players have their way, I don't. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it's the way it is.
I think from my earlier years, again, Chipper, I say it, I practice it, I preach it, and I lived it. Think like a bookie. If you're thinking like a bookie in the last couple of weeks.
But this is 2 straight Sundays they got hammered. And they're not, they're real. They have, as a matter of fact, one of the articles in the Las Vegas Review-Journal saying that how the bookmakers are now being called on the carpet to have to answer to why they're losing. I mean, this is part of the game, fellas. You don't win every day and you don't lose every day. So,
well, I mean, there's a lot more knowledge out there with bettors now too. I mean, you got the newer generation getting into all these analytics. There's a lot of sharp guys out there these days. But having said that, I had Baltimore as my game of the month in the NFL last Sunday. I had 2 outright underdog winners in college football, Air Force being one of them, and the other one escapes me. But there was a silver lining there, but New England cost me a winning day.
Same with me. I came this close I had Baltimore as one of my top plays and the Sunday night winner. And I came this close, and I just thought that the Patriots such a standout play to me that I couldn't get away from it. And I used Baltimore as number 2, hit 2 of the top 3. But when we don't win that top one, it really hurts. And Baltimore was a great call for you and for me as a second-rated game. It was great to win. But boy, I'll tell you, we have to go after them once again this Sunday, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the Chargers going forward when they're playing a team that runs the ball very well. And especially if they're going to be a favorite against that team, I would lean heavily toward the other side.
Yeah.
Again, they're dead last in the NFL in running, in rush defense, I should say. Right. And Baltimore, they've been one of the best running teams in football for the last 3 seasons counting. So that one to me was a no-brainer, and made me look prophetic, but it's not always that easy. Yeah, it's not always that easy. But Chipper, this is our college football edition. You would never know it with us getting away here on the NFL. We are going to have our NFL edition up next, folks, so keep an eye out for that. I just want to remind you, our YouTube channel, our sports betting YouTube channel, I'm joined weekly by Chip Chirimbes and in Doug Upstone from DocSports.com, as well as other various handicappers throughout the year. It costs absolutely nothing to subscribe, folks. You're getting these winners free for nothing. You're getting insight from both of us who have been doing this for umpteen years. And just hit that subscribe button. And while you're there, hit the notification bell to make sure you get notified anytime one of these videos are published. And always give us a like at the end of the video. If you're watching and you're a return visitor, most likely, no matter if you disagree with us, pissed off at us because we lost the week before, whatever have you, you're watching. So you must like what we're giving you. So hit that like button. It's not that difficult, folks. It makes us happy. Anyway, Chipper, the top 25 in college football, I don't think I've ever throughout the years had so much, I don't want to use disrespect, but lack of confidence in how these guys are rating these teams. Again, this week you got two teams that are unranked as favorites over two teams that are ranked. And sometimes I think, especially in the coaches poll, these guys, if you're a coach, how could you be watching? You're watching the game you're playing. You're preparing for the team you're playing next. You know who you played last. And from all accounts that I've read, it's more a pain in the ass to these coaches. You know what I mean?
I don't think they're really familiar with anyone outside of their conference for the most part. And I really believe there's a lot of prejudices out there. A lot of, you know, you have coaches that you've worked with, and you may side with them as opposed to a team that you don't care about. But you know, I think the way we look at it, let the odds makers make the polls.
Well, because the odds makers have no bias or no emotion involved.
Exactly.
Now, you just mentioned, you know, they called the guys on the carpet, the odds makers, the manager of the sports book, whatever the case may be. But it's going to happen. Okay. At the end of the day, they're going to be right a hell of a lot more than they're wrong. Okay. And I can assure you, there's no odds maker in the country that goes, you know what? I hate Alabama. Okay. So let's finagle this line. So we're squeezing for Alabama and everybody's betting on them. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen like that.
No.
You know, and as you touched upon, and I just alluded to, as far as a coaches poll goes, those guys it's almost like a chore that they don't want to do, but they're obligated to do so. And like Chipper said, there's a lot of bias involved in that.
And, you know, I understand that a lot of the head coaches just leave the polling to their assistants because they don't have the time to sit and review all the teams in the nation and what they're doing. And they're only looking to the next game. So,
and those assistants may have the same attitude that you just alluded to, you know. So, I mean, there's a lot of assistants out there that were fired at previous stops. So a lot of assistants that left the prior job because they couldn't get along with the head coach. There's a lot involved. Anyway, free pick for Saturday, the 23rd in college football, USC and Notre Dame. Lacks a little the luster that it normally does, but in any event, still a pretty good game with Notre Dame only a 7-point favorite at home.
And a very tough call, I think, Ross. It really is. USC at 3-3, different coach, 2-0 on the road. And here's Notre Dame, the most unimpressive 5-1 team I've seen this year. I mean, Brian Kelly's going with Jack Cohn, who came from Wisconsin, couldn't quite get it done there, and he's struggling here with the Irish. And, you know, here's USC coming off a loss against Utah. Thankfully, we had the Utes 2 weeks when in that contest. But, you know, they got Slovis, I believe his name is, at quarterback. Yeah. And one of the leading receivers in the country, and this London's got 64 receptions, 832 yards, 5 or 6 TDs. But, you know, this team is allowing 43 points in their losses and only 11.7 points in their wins. This game is particularly a tough call. If you go back and you look at the stats, not only between the two, but the trends overall. USC is 12-4 after allowing 40 points. I told you how they did that, you know, last week in a game against Utah. But then again, they're 3-12 as road dogs. So here you're looking one way and getting smacked in the head in the other, and they're also 3-10 in non-conference games. Meanwhile, you go, okay, so I like the home team. I'll be happy to take Notre Dame. They're 1-4 as favorites at home in their last 5. It's sort of like you're flipping a coin, it's landing on the side. It's landing on its edge, and it's really tough to make a call here. The other thing I can say is the favorite is 6-2 in the last 8 meetings, but that is because the home team has covered 6 of the last 7 times, and the home team is particularly a favorite when these two play. But I think that my feeling is that the Fighting Irish aren't as strong as they have been in the past, and they are always a little bit overrated by the media and the public. And USC is in the doldrums. They're coming off a terrible beating. Maybe they were looking ahead to this one. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than the odds makers give it. I think the odds makers have made Notre Dame virtually a touchdown favorite. Yes. And I'd be surprised if they cover that number. I think the Trojans will keep it within the number. This is always this used to be the biggest game on their schedule. And you can count UCLA when I say that, because going into Notre Dame or playing Notre Dame was still the biggest game they had.
Yeah,
Anthony
because
Davis
it always had national implications, right, Chip?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget the game when Notre Dame had like a 14-point lead in the half, and Anthony Davis ran back to open the kickoff.
No, they were
5 touchdowns in the second half.
Let me correct you there. Notre Dame was up in that game 24-0.
There you go.
On the road in the Coliseum in LA. And USC scored 55 unanswered points. And like I said, Anthony Davis ran back, 2 kickoffs for touchdowns? It was incredible.
That was one of the most impressive performances I'd ever seen. And we've seen O.J. Simpson run for USC as well. But that game is etched in my memory. Him running the opening kickoff in the second half back for a touchdown. And the game was over at that time. Right then and there, the game was over.
It was the momentum shifted and never swung back.
So I'm looking for Anthony Davis to return here and to run for USC. Well, but they don't have O.J. Simpson either, but they do have a great running back, and I think the Trojans will keep this one close.
I know that Joe Theismann isn't going to be walking through the door very soon. I know that John Hewart isn't walking through the door very soon. See, now I remember that. John Hewart.
Even Paulus, who Bino Smith said was going to be a 2-time Heisman Trophy winner, isn't going to be there.
I just don't understand Notre Dame how, with the brand name they have, their lucrative contract with NBC, how they're not able to get a quarterback who's dynamic or at least a tremendous drop back passer, you know? It escapes me, especially with an offensive mind like Brian Kelly.
And there's plenty of them out there nowadays, Ross. I mean, you look all over the country and you've got great quarterbacks that can throw the ball now. I mean, the kid at Mississippi, Carroll, who you really like.
I love that kid. Corral. Matt Corral.
Yeah, right. And, why don't they add it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, some of it might have to do with the fact that they recruit so well that sometimes kids that maybe are on the fence go to a school they think they have a chance to make an immediate impact. Yeah. I mean, you look at some of these quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett at Pitt. He's putting up monster numbers, and I'm going to talk about that game right now.
And the quarterback they have now, Ross, is a transfer from Wisconsin.
Yeah. Who lost the starting job there to Graham Mertz, who's, in my estimation,
terrible.
Not a very good
Brian Kelly, I don't know. He's going to try and pull a rabbit out of his hat here, but I'm going to stick with the Trojans.
Okay, so Chip Chirimbes is on USC +7 over, I believe, number 13 ranked Notre Dame. Again, why is Notre Dame only a 7-point favorite as a ranked team against a team who had their head coach fired after game 2, which tells me if that happens, there's a lot more internal problems that we know about at that school. So in any event, I'm going to look at Clemson and Pitt. And Chip, feel free to chime in if you want, okay? Because I know you have feelings on a Clemson especially. This is a Clemson team that's not very good right now. They barely escaped against Syracuse last week. 17-14 as a 12.5-point favorite. They're averaging in the ACC. They've played 4 games in the ACC this year. They're averaging 17.6 points and a tad over 300 yards per game. It's absolutely horrific. Now their defense is great, right?
Yes. Yeah. And their offense absolutely terrible. You've seen it. This kid at quarterback, everyone was enamored with him because of the 2 games he had last year, taking Lawrence's spot when Lawrence was down. But offensively, they're horrendous. I mean, when I was in the Army, we used to say lock and load. Well, this team can lock and load, but there's no bullets. They just don't move the ball. They don't do anything. And Pitt has been a juggernaut on offense. This kid can throw the ball, and this team puts up points.
Yeah. Speaking of that kid who could throw the ball, his name is Kenny Pickett. He's a 5th-year senior, and we're at the halfway point of the season for Pitt. He's got just under 2,000 yards passing and 21 touchdowns against just 1 interception. Now, his numbers are a little inflated against teams like Massachusetts and New Hampshire, granted. But, I mean, the last 2 games, he's been terrific. And an ACC wins on the road at Virginia Tech. And I'm trying to think of who else they played on the road. Anyway, they're 3-0 straight up in ATS in their last 3, Pittsburgh is. They outscored their opponents 157-35. They have not turned the ball over in the last 3 games. And that's the type of thing that Clemson thrives on. When you don't have a potent offense, you've got a stingy defense and one that can create short fields for you with turnovers. I don't think that's going to be the case here. Pittsburgh is playing with big time revenge after losing at Clemson last year, 52-17, in a game that Kenny Pickett absolutely struggled in. And the other game was 28-7 at Virginia Tech. And think about this, meaning Pittsburgh won that game last week, 28-7 at Virginia Tech, another team that was ranked for a better part of the season.
And a team known for its defense as well.
Exactly. And here's the other thing to think about. Clemson opened up their ACC schedule at Georgia Tech in late September. Right. They won that game 14-8 over the Yellow Jackets as a 30 or 27-point favorite, barely squeaked by. Pitt, on the other hand, 2 weeks ago, goes to Georgia Tech and wallops them 52-21. So if you're a believer of common opponents, there's certainly a case to be made there. In any event, if you haven't guessed already, Pittsburgh is -2.5 in some places. No, excuse me, -3 in some places, -3.5 in others. Obviously, I'm going to get the best line at -3. Now, if you do get them at 3.5, folks, it's not a sign of weakness. I know it costs extra money to buy off, especially to buy off a key number like 3. Right. But if you get 3.5, buy it down to 3. Protect yourself. Okay. I like to tell you that Pittsburgh's going to win this game 52-0. But you know what? We get paid the same if we win a game by 4 and we're -3 as we're win a game by 50 and we're -14.
And you know, Ross, it only hurts if you get beat.
That's it. So, the juice only counts if you lose.
And you tell you what, it has saved me a number of times. I mean, it really has. I mean, we had a number of different games this season. I could think of that Cincinnati Green Bay game where it was 2.5 and 3. Yep. If you didn't get the 3, you got stuck. If you laid the 2.5, you won with the Packers. So it's worth it. It's worth paying that extra money. And that's why they charge you that extra big, because it's worth it.
When we say key numbers, it's because that's the numbers that results fall on most of the time. Okay. When I say most of the time, I'm not talking 50%, but if you go over the numbers in college football, 3, 6, 7, 10, 13, and 14, you'll find the most times results end up, the final results end up being in that proximity. Okay. I should say. And if that's the case, then, you know, protect yourself. That's all I'm saying. There's a reason why they're charging you extra juice to buy off a key number. You know, there's a reason for that. And on top of that, if you do the math, if you just get a push one time out of 11 bets, okay, 11 losing bets, not 11 bets, 11 losing bets. Think about that. If you get a push one time out of 11 losing bets by buying off the half a point on a key number, you're ahead of the game. Yeah. So that's not even counting the games you won and didn't even need the extra half a point. In any event, I like Pittsburgh -3 over Clemson. Chip likes USC +7 over Notre Dame. Chipper, what do you got going on this weekend you could tell the folks about, and where could they find you?
All right, you can go to chipwins.com and I can guide you from there once you get to the website. But I've got 3 really powerful games in the NCAA this Saturday. We had discussed it already. And, you know, I feel really confident hitting 2 out of 3 last week, and Saturday hitting 2 out of 3 of our top plays on Sunday. The problem was the top game didn't get there. But this week I'm looking to get there. 7-4, 7-3 overall in college best bets. 7-4 overall in the NFL. So posting winning sides is what we do, and I'm looking to do it again.
I know one thing: these standalone games. Chip just mentioned he's 11-4 in these standalone games. He was pretty similar in terms of results last year as well, if I recall. Right,
28-14 last year.
28-14, 11-4. That's 39-18. That's really good, folks. It's like 70%. So my point being is, when you get these standalone games, meaning there's only one game going on that night, like a Thursday night NFL, a Monday night NFL, maybe one game on a Thursday night in college football. There's a lot of competition out there besides buying from us. And it's hard to decipher who you should pick to go with. Well, if a guy's got a track record like that, it's a no-brainer. Okay. And we don't make up results, folks. This isn't,
No, we're documenting.
I don't want to mention other so-called people in our industry. I won't even call them handicappers to tell you they're 71-2. And where are you monitored? Because I told you so.com, so we don't operate like that. Anyway, you can find me at rbwins.com, cashed in last Sunday with my 10-star game of the month in the NFL on the Baltimore Ravens, who were -2.5, absolutely blew out the Chargers 34-6. Also had a couple nice straight up underdog winners in college football, some tough losers as well. I've been struggling of late, folks, in football the last 3 weeks. Okay. Look, I tell you when I win, and when I'm losing, I own up to it. All I could tell you is look at me in the eye. I'm going to go on a tear the rest of the season. And if you're not in with me on one of my epic torrid runs that Chip knows I have pulled off on many occasions, like he has over the last few years, then shame on you. Anyway, that's rbwins.com and chipwins.com. That's where you can find our best plays of the day. In any event, folks, for Chip Chirimbes, I'm Ross Benjamin. I'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless.